I hate being rushed. And when I'm under pressure for time, I make horrible decisions. I forget things as I'm running out the door, and it's just irritating. I'll be the first to admit that my time management skills are lacking. However, my timing is perfect. And that's what today's episode is about. Our pace. Check it out. A couple of years ago, I was in a really, really dark place. I was depressed and anxious and angry and fearful and basically disabled by it, completely immobilized, could not find motivation to do anything, really struggled finding satisfaction in anything or pleasure in anything. And I was planted far deeper than I really ever thought I was capable of. And I was there a really, really long time. Like so long that I didn't know if I was ever going to get out of it. And that in itself was scary. And I was sharing this with a friend of mine recently, and she was like, oh my God, I know. God almighty, you were in that space so long. I can't believe you were in that space so long. And the more she talked, the more insecure I felt and the more sensitive I became to her comments. And I was feeling like she was being judgy, and then I was feeling embarrassed, and I was realizing I was judging how long I was in the space. And I was like, wait, no, stop. No. It is what it is. And I honestly don't think I could have gone through that experience any faster or any slower for that matter. Because here's what I'm thinking right now. We all have our own personal style, our own timing, a personal pace, if you will. Whether it be in the healing process or the grieving process or digging yourself out of a deep depression, we all kind of have our own way of doing things. And my personal way is pretty meandering, to be honest with you. I go up and down and left and right and circle back around and go back to the start. And eventually, hopefully, I do make progress. But I notice that a lot of times I judge my own pace or the pace of others. And I think that that's something I'd like to stop doing, actually. It's the week of my birthday. And I'm remembering my birthday a few years ago when I made this decision that I wanted to do something empowering. I wanted to do something unique and big and bold. And for whatever reason, I set my sights on walking across a bed of hot coals. Now, I had no idea how I was going to achieve this birthday goal, but I was on a mission. I happened to find a gentleman who lived in my home state that had previously worked for a very famous motivational speaker, and he had helped thousands of people walk across a bed of coals all over the globe. He was a professional, and he agreed to help me as long as I could provide the space and all the materials. I went on the hunt for a campground that would allow me to stay the weekend, celebrate my birthday, and create this bed of coals. I found one and the owners were very gracious. All they asked is that I provide some sod or something to keep their grounds from having burn scars. I went to a sod dealership, told him the deal. He was so excited for me. He donated enough sod to cover a 5 feet by 20 feet area, a path for me to walk across this bed of coals. It was all lining up. I was so excited. We had planned for me to walk across this bed of coals about 8 or 9 in the evening after the sun went down. And I was a little shocked at how early on that Saturday morning he showed up at my campground. I wasn't aware of how much wood has to be burned in order to create a bed of coals that large. But we worked all day long, dragging deadfall out of the woods, cutting it up, throwing it on the fire. It was a lot of hard work, but it was terribly exciting because I knew what we were working toward. Hour after hour after hour, we kept throwing more wood on top of this fire, and it was blazing. It was burning hot. Although it was March and in the mountains and quite chilly outside, It was very, very difficult to stand anywhere close to the fire because it was so big. And as the day progressed and the sun started to go down, I could see this mound of coals just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the more excited I got, the more scared I got. I didn't exactly know what was getting ready to happen, but I knew this was my birthday goal. And I knew I was going to feel empowered at the end of the evening. We ate dinner. We waited for the last of the wood to finally burn down. And we had this massive mountain of coals. They were fire orange. They were popping. They were smoking. It smelled lovely to me. And then came some more work. It was time to shovel all these coals onto this path of sod that we had created, this 5 feet by 20 feet aisle for me to walk from start to finish, basically transforming myself. That's how it felt to me, that I was going to start this way and I was going to end a new way. I was going to be a new person. It was my birthday. It was a new year. I had made it around the sun one more time, and it was time for some change. After we finished shoveling all these coals, I was pouring sweat. I was starting to feel a little bit more nervous. I was excited as well. He was like, all right, it's time. You can take your shoes off. We're going to do this. As the evening had progressed, slowly, subtly, without any warning or any discussion, we had all kind of gotten a little bit quieter. I was there. The professional was there. My partner was there, as well as the 2 owners of the camping area. We had all kind of gotten quiet, just staring into the fire, all of us working hard to bring in wood, to stir the fire, to now spread the coals out and get ready for this moment. It was kind of surreal, which is funny that I even say that because I don't even know the definition of that word, but it seems appropriate. It was weird. It was like being in the Twilight Zone. It was great. I sat down on a log and started to take my boots off and my socks off, these nice thick wool socks, because it was chilly. I realized that my feet on the ground felt really interesting. It was so cold on the ground where I was standing, it almost felt wet. My little grape skin feet, I'm usually very sensitive to walking barefoot outside. So I slowly made my way towards like the starting line, if you will, one end of this fiery path. The gentleman was on the other end. And as I was staring at these coals and watching them just kind of dance in the light that they themselves were creating and popping and smoking, I could smell it. I could hear it. I could almost taste it because the air was so thick of smoke. I looked up at the man, and what I envisioned was this guru, this old sage, whatever, this old man with long gray hair and a long beard and the wisdom wrinkles all over his face, wearing these old robes and sandals. In fact, what I saw was a bald man in cargo pants and a hoodie, and he just stood there with his arms out, inviting me to walk this path towards him. I broke the very, very long silence when I said, "Oh my God, I'm scared." And he said, "Good. Because without fear, you are dangerous." He said, "But don't forget, Amy, with too much fear, you are also dangerous." I looked at him puzzled. He proceeded to tell me that as I walk from where I stood to where I was going, I needed to not run, because if I got too afraid and I started to run, the weight of my body would force my feet into the coals and it would burn my feet. He could see me hesitate because he proceeded to say, "But if you go too slow, or God forbid, if you stop, you will most definitely get burned. Your natural pace, Amy. You need to walk your natural pace from where you are to where you are going, because your natural pace is not dangerous to you." I was still standing at the starting line, trying to process everything that he was saying, staring at the coals. He spoke again and said, "Do not stare at the coals, Amy. That is focusing on your fear." I shot my head up towards the sky, and he said, "Amy, if you're not looking at your goal, you're going to miss your mark. Don't look up either. Look right at me. Look right at the goal. Look right at the end, where you are going." and begin when you are ready. I began. I started to walk. I wanted to run. I wanted to stop. I wanted to jump off to the left and to the right and then go back to the starting position again, but I didn't. I just kept walking. I did not look at the coals. I did not stare at the sky. I just walked through it, on it, over it, and ended it. And I felt empowered. He said, Amy, you are now a changed person. I said, my God, that just seems so quick. And he said, yes, change is instantaneous. Preparation for change takes time. And in your preparation, don't run. Don't stop. Just keep going at your natural pace.